All right, everybody, welcome back to some more Osu Mania 4 Key World Cup 2024. We've got some round of 32 action. We've got the last few matches. Starting off our Sunday fresh 3UTC Taiwan versus Mexico. We've got one of the closer matches seed-wise. Seed 15 versus Seed 18. This is going to be an exciting one. I'm really excited to see it. I'm one of your commentators, Toph Daddy, joined here yet again by Dynascape. How's it going?
Hello everyone, Toph. I am doing amazing and very excited to see this match. So far this weekend, we have not seen a singular upset. Maybe Mexico will take some initiative and show us how it's done. And honestly, with these seeds being close as they are, it could totally happen. And Taiwan and Mexico seems like a decent matchup at the first glance, just because both of them seem to be very all-rounded as a whole.
That is definitely true. There was an interesting bit of the qualifier results. Taiwan having quite a strong rice showing. Number 7, well, this isn't even right, but I have number 7 on my notes list because they got number 7 out of the 2 runs of every team. So they're closer to number 5 or 6 on Rice 1, which this pool is going to be a lot closer to. And then Rice 2 and 3, they also did quite well on. So Mexico also having a very, very strong performance on the Rice, especially those late game Rice 2 and Rice 3. So 2 quite well-matched opponents. It'll be interesting to see what kinds of paths these 2 teams are going to go on. I expect Taiwan to kind of keep around the Rice, protect one of those Rice picks, get rid of one of the long notes, and I think Mexico is going to try to go against the grain there and, try to just do the opposite, right?
Exactly, and we're already seeing kind of that game plan form in the protect and ban phase. Mexico surprisingly going for SV1. They're going to try to make something happen on Ignite My Heart, whereas Taiwan, kind of like what you said, they did really good on the Rice 1 qualifier, which is very jump stream based, and they're going to keep that up by protecting Rice 2. Going ahead and banning SV2 seems like they don't really want to deal with that other SV, just in case Mexico has practiced both of them throughout this whole week.
I mean, if you see a protect on one of the SV picks, kind of gotta ban the other one, right? Because that means that the team has practiced SV in some capacity. And it just feels like the natural progression almost. And LN1 gets banned out by Mexico there. Actually, kind of a strange ban.
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty strange, but I mean, based off of the qualifier results, Taiwan seemed to do better just overall on LNs by a smidgen. So maybe they probably should have banned something like Rice 1, but I mean, it remains to be foreseen. We're gonna have to see how it leads into the match when they probably and eventually do get picked. And Mexico firing straight away with having that first pick going with their protect in SV1. They're ready, they've remembered the map, and they want to see what they can do and strike first against Taiwan.
Absolutely, and I mean, Taiwan did perform better in the SV pick in qualifiers, but qualifier SV is not really a necessarily, descriptive. It doesn't necessarily confirm what a team is in terms of SVs, because qualifiers are an interesting time for a lot of teams. I think a lot of teams will balance out what is possible and what is needed to keep themselves in the tournament. And if a team is not super confident in themselves, they might really focus on getting the physicality down without focusing so much on the SVs, and then when the actual rounds come out and points can be on the table, that's where these SV skills can come out. Not to mention, Mexico, a lower seeded team, can potentially get some score variance out of this SV pick. So it'll be interesting to see how well these 2 teams practice up on this week 1 pick.
Exactly, and even speaking about the SV qualifier, there's only one SV map in the qualifiers, right? So at some point you have to encompass reading and you do have to encompass memo both into that map. When you start to get into that bracket stage, you can kind of diverge a little bit and really have these 2 maps settle into their own little categories, one reading, one memo. So even though Mexico did get 25th on SV, it's not too much behind Taiwan at 17th, probably only separated by a couple thousand points. Maybe one of the teams just had a bad run, right? So it
Absolutely
probably is
possible.
closer than we think, and I'm really excited to see what these 6 people do on this map.
I mean, especially when you're talking about a map in round of 32, right? Like, this SV map is certainly easier than what we saw in the qualifier round. So it's going to be more approachable, it's going to be easier to read, and it's going to be a lot less difficult. It's going to be a lot easier to not choke on a map like this than it would be on like the SV map in qualifiers. And we're already seeing like some of the SV patterns in this intro, some slow jams, but Mexico taking an early lead now with 2 players actually below the 99% on the side of Taiwan, all 3 Mexican players holding the 99 in the slow jam, and that bodes well for this first pick coming out of Mexico.
Yeah, Taiwan off to honestly a decently shaky start, whereas Mexico do seem to be in formation with each other, very close in terms of accuracy between the 3 of them, whereas Veloz is really just trying to keep up their accuracy probably around the lowest for Mexico. And as we get into the harder sections here, we do see the lead not really changing too much. It seems like everyone's kind of staying within their accuracies.
Yeah, and now that lead is just kind of staying stationary. All players kind of having a constant accuracy, 6,000 to 5,000 points being the lead for Mexico at the moment. Such a little bit behind everyone else in the lobby here. All 3 Mexican players above 99.6. Ha 02 and 01 also a little bit behind, and that slow jam transition also caught them off guard, but that actually transition accuracy loss was traded by Shadow GM, who continues to find some 200s in this low section, but it's not going to be enough, as Such also finds a few accuracy drops. It looks like Mexico is going to be able to hold on to a small lead in this race section before we get into the hardest patterns of this map. Teleport coming up.
Yeah, we're going to have to see how these people do as it comes in, and seems like no one actually breaks except for Ha. Spoke a little bit too early, and that's not what you want to see if you're Taiwan. And yet again, 2 breaks on the side of Taiwan, untraded. Veloz even taking one to go as well. So Mexico, huge lead as we get into the last 1/8 of the map. It seems like all is said and done. It needs to be traded out here and now, but this section, unfortunately, is a lot easier than the one we just passed through. And Mexico, seems like they're going to take that first point.
Yeah, unfortunately, that teleport catching Ha 0201 off guard. Veloz finding him pretty soon after that, but all 3 Mexican players holding on to the full combos, and despite a better SV score on the qualifiers, Mexico managing to take a first point in this match, holding on, and will give the choice back to Taiwan, who has to make a good choice in order to stay in this match, or not stay in this match, but keep up with Mexico getting that first point there.
Yeah, Mexico's such a good team score between them, basically all within 3,000 points of each other. They were primed and ready to go on that, and really shows you how much they practiced throughout the week, just making sure every single thing was right, making sure that teleport would go smoothly in match, and it really did happen, and that was pretty much the difference between Mexico and Taiwan on that map. So Mexico up 1-0, Taiwan up next to pick. Where do they go? They go right into their own protect, Senko no Flare.
Yeah, not too surprising to see Rice 2 coming out from Taiwan. Like we said, that early game Rice qualifier, absurdly good score, getting one of the top scores in the entire tournament there, despite having 15 seed. These lower end Rice maps in general, I think, are going to start to come on very well in this match.
It really does seem like most players can handle jump streams at this speed, even given the amount of weird split trills to deal with, and also kind of like that small bump in density in the back half of the map. And it seems to probably be true for Taiwan that they are just absolutely a menace. Veloz has been crushing so many different Rice scores in the qualifiers. I think they ended up one of the top individual performers overall. So definitely one to watch out for when you're looking for high scores, one that really makes a difference in this team game. And Jackie and Yokum gonna try to give some good supporting scores for their teammate here. On the side of Mexico, we've got Darkshizer Wate, and if I'm not mistaken, usually Cerrone is playing the Rice.
Yeah,
I think that's we're gonna see. We're gonna
that's
see
the
them.
team I expected. We're gonna see the two Rice teams get considered. We're waiting just for Cerrone. So it looks like Cerrone's actually in the lobby. We're just waiting for them to move into the right position. Yeah, they are there. Just waiting for the right position. So the two regular Rice teams. Veloce actually, interestingly enough, playing every single map for Taiwan during the qualifiers. So definitely a very well-rounded player. Just Yukam and Jackie backing them up on everything else. And then on the Mexican side, like you said, the Darkichizer, Iwate, and Cerrone being the general Rice team. So not too surprising to see these two teams come out.
This map being, it is round of 32, so I think the OD is deservedly upped a little at 8.5. I don't think really people have had a lot of issues in terms of, dropping a lot of 200s. It's more like that stamina component or just like losing concentration for half a second. That's why you break, and that's why maybe you cause a big swing in the map. So definitely something to watch out for. I think all 60 Beats players can really handle this just fine, as we've seen time and time again throughout this weekend. Just every player has been killing it so far. So it should be a very, very close one, closer than SV at least.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've been seeing, like earlier today, we saw number 32 seed keeping themselves within like 40,000 points of the number one seed United States. Like that's already pretty absurd, and we got 15 versus 18, and Mexico's already taken a point off of Taiwan. So even if we're under the impression that Taiwan might have the stronger Rice team in general, which I think is true in this scenario, Mexico's not that far off.
No, not at all. And it really is just Taiwan knows it's their scariest skill sets and straightforward things like jump stream and streams just based off the qualifiers. But really in match, it's a whole different beast. So you're going to have to see what they do here. And seems like as it is now, Taiwan does have that better innate accuracy, especially with Velosa at a 99.94 matched by Wate. However, for Taiwan, the better supporting scores are really keeping them in it, and with that 2,000 point lead.
Yeah, 299.9s coming out from Taiwan. Iwate just dropping below it now. And Jackie actually matching up with Iwate's accuracy, so Cerrone and Darkichizer are a little bit behind in terms of accuracy, though still 2,000 points, so close, a third of the way into this. Despite being a stamina map, even with the large number of notes, 2,000 points is not that big of a difference. One mistake can mean the difference between a lead here, and all 6 players holding out of the full combos going into the first small break sections here. So they're going to be able to hold on to their stamina a little bit, but still need to stay consistent. A little bit of a risky pick from Taiwan looking at this right now, just because of how straightforward this is. Mexico able to hold on extremely well with that.
And as we pass through this little jack section, we are passing through the final, basically break section. As far as it goes from now on until the end of the map, it's going to be very much just a test of stamina, just pure jump stream for the rest of the minute. And the density is upped a little bit. The split chills are still ever present. And at the end, you even get like a little light hand stream section as well. So something to watch out for the Taiwanese players, but it seems like they're handling things just fine. The lead has not really changed much, just about 3,000 points between both of them. And Mexico really needs someone from Taiwan to drop bad judgments or maybe even a miss, because at this point, there's nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, there is one chokeable pattern at the end. There is a burst at the end. The jump stream should be relatively straightforward, but that burst can cause some misses. So that's the only real thing stopping Taiwan from taking this point. But as long as they're able to hit that, they should be fine. Last pattern. No one misses it, in Taiwan narrowly does manage to take their first point on their Protect. 4,000 points. 2,991. Absurd for a 15 seed. I just don't know what's happening. Triple. 6-way double S. Hold on. What?
How often do you see something like that where just two very monstrous teams so close to each other pull off a 6-way double S? And I mean, only 4,000 points separating the two. It really was just a battle of ratio, and this time Taiwan came out on top.
That's No, this doesn't happen with 15 versus 18 seeds.
Yeah, no, it basically never happens.
I feel so old right now seeing people just like full teams in the middle of the pack being able to perform this well. This is crazy. I think map pools are too easy still at this point. What's going on?
I mean, Toph, right now you must feel like a grandpa at this point. Just seeing what mid-seeds can do is like, no, there's something in the water these days, and these Mania players, every single one of them that has qualified for this year's tournament is such a standout player in their own way.
That was an insane double team score at that point. Mexico literally could not have done anything more. And they're going for long note too, so we're going to see the density long note pick coming out. I think that makes sense, coming from Mexico, looking to get away from that rise. I mean, they just 3-way double S to map and lost, right? They do not want to stick around in that rise pool.
No, not at all. I mean, the spirit hopefully is not broken for them, and they are seemingly looking for other avenues of attack. They did get beat in rise, so now they're going to run over to LN2, which is the density pick. Brain Rigid Grill by Mint, and I mean, hopefully a little switch up in the I guess formation for Mexico might do something for them. However, it doesn't look like so far they're really changing much. We did change Wate for, I believe, Shadow GM. Cerrone and Dark Chaz are staying in. On the side of Taiwan, you've got Ha back in, and then also Shice and Belos.
I'm a little surprised to see Hopper Gamer not come in for Mexico, but we already see the anti-star command. So one of the long-up players from Mexico not coming in, Blisse, Ha, and Shise. Definitely in the expected long note squad, but maybe Cerrone has some. Maybe Cerrone or Iwate. Sorry, I'm having a stroke right now.
it's hard with all the switch outs.
Cerrone and Shadow GM not necessarily being the normal LN players, but low end. I was expecting Hopper Gamer to come out, so we'll have to see how this ends up going.
Yeah, maybe Hyper Gamer is just better at like middle of like where the most qualifiers hit, where like quarterfinals, semifinals, that kind of difficulty. Cerrone is just better at lower end accuracy, but so far it seems like they are trailing behind by just a little bit in terms of everyone else in the pack. Thankfully, Shadow GM is kind of pulling through in terms of accuracy, matching basically the highest accuracy on Taiwan. However, the supporting scores just aren't there, in Taiwan getting into this first little section is running away with a little bit of a lead. Not too much, though.
Yeah, it looks like actually it's running a little bit behind everyone else as far outside of that. Everything pretty close. Dark Tizer and Shadow GM both above 99.7. Shise with the highest accuracy in the lobby, approaching 99.8, but a double trade there. Hot and Darkichizer both finding misses there, and that actually, I think, technically is better from Mexico. Cerrone with the lowest accuracy, able to hold on to the combo, not have that much of an issue, but 7,000 points of lead stays in favor of Taiwan as Shadow GM also finds a miss, and that's 2 full combos to 1.
Ooh, that was not a good miss for Mexico to have. You had such a good trade that was potentially in your favor, and unfortunately it just did not work out with Shadow GM missing. So Cerrone having the only FC at the lowest accuracy does not spell good things for Mexico. There's only a fourth of the map left in Belos, and Shice has been so steadfast in their accuracy. 99.8s from each of them is actually kind of insane. So definitely putting in that work into making Taiwan have a substantial lead.
Still extremely close. A couple misses could definitely do it, but there's so little left in this map. It's going to take. It has to happen right now. And Mexico might just give up the first break point here just by a little bit, and it's so close. But Taiwan does get a little bit of an advantage on their own pick here. Have an opportunity to go into some more of their own comfort picks, go into potentially some more rice, and try to make this a 3-1 game. But they do have to make a good pick here, make sure Mexico isn't able to, keep up quite as close. Rice, too, despite being the protect, was 4,000 points of difference. So it's a little bit of a scary choice to go for Rice again.
Oh, definitely. And I kind of found it funny that Ha0201 and I believe Dark Chaser missed on the exact same note. I wonder if I'm gonna have to run it back on the editor to see if that pattern is mind blockable, because that usually doesn't happen too often. But I mean, Mexico unfortunately gonna give over that breakpoint. That doesn't seem too good. Again, I've talked about it a lot. In a first to 5 best of 9 series, you really cannot afford any breakpoints, especially when the seedings are close and you expect it to be a very close match. You want to close with every single pick that you have. And with Taiwan up to bat next, really begs the question, what do they want to go for? Rice 1 does seem like a good option. Rice 3 or through 5, we've talked about each one are kind of chokeable in their own way. Could be a scary pick, but no, they say, screw it, we're going to go for Rice 5. We're going to see how you do on these mixed rice techie picks.
Yeah, technical coming out this one a little bit closer to the jack side of things. Has a lot of heavy jack patterns on top of, that one stream, plus some very difficult to act burst patterns. So, everything about this map is very difficult to be consistent on, and it's a little bit awkward. I mean, Taiwan, such a good early game Rice team at this point that, you'd expect them to just go with whatever they're comfortable with. And I think as far as the Rice picks available, this might be the most comfortable pick left. I might have gone for Rice 3 before this, but I can't really blame them for feeling more comfortable on something like this, especially if they think Mexico might not feel the most comfortable on this in general.
Exactly. In the last match that I commentated, I saw United Kingdom start off with Rice 3, which is kind of like a middle of the road techie pick, and then further branch out into the other picks like Rice 5. And I thought that worked really well for them. Taiwan kind of taking that opposite route of going into Hallucinate, which is pretty, I guess, different from the other two in many, many ways. So gonna have to see if this gives them confidence to go into Rice 4, Rice 3 if they do win this pick. That's really the first step.
This intro is quite funny. 25-point advantage for Mexico just off the accuracy from the first couple of bursts, but nothing really to speak about until we start getting to the really difficult pattern, which should be coming up very shortly.
Yeah, as we pass through this intro and everyone just honestly gains combo, we start to get into these little streams. These are at 1/8, so very, very quick, about 344 BPM, but very short bursts. And then also a lot of jacks at 172 BPM. The density is quite low, basically all doubles. However, some people have been struggling through them, especially in the back half. Does not seem like the case for these guys, though.
Yeah, no doubt. All 6 players holding on very strong. Certainly a little behind in terms of accuracy, but outside of that, all players kind of around each other, and we have basically 1,000 points of advantage to Taiwan, but 1,000 points is basically no advantage unless you can hold on to it. This map very easy to show. We've got some jack patterns coming up that should be easier to extend the lead for Taiwan, but we still have a lot left. That stream coming in right after this break happens is gonna be a lot here.
For sure. I mean, we've seen a lot of players in this stream pattern actually gain accuracy. We're gonna have to see if that holds true for these guys. And so far, it seems like no real bad judgments coming out. Everyone's slaying it exactly as they should be. And even with the little switch ups in terms of the snappings, they are doing just fine, passing through it flawlessly.
Goodness. Everyone's just keeping such high accuracy on this. The Taiwan team, 2 players above 99.9, every single player above 99.8 right now. A 4,000 point lead for Taiwan, but it's so close. Some of the hardest patterns coming up now. Last quarter of the map, any miss loses it. And there's a miss from Yukon,
no.
And that might be it for Mexico. If they're able to hold on to combo, they might just take a breakpoint right back. And that's what I was talking about, the risk here. With these Rice picks, it was 4,000 points on Rice 2, and that just might be enough for Mexico to really step into the match. 2-2, looking evident here. Oh my goodness. One miss is all it takes.
Mexico closing it out off of the back of Yukam's mistake. So unfortunate, because I know that miss was super clean. Jackie even picking up a 50. I believe that was in the back half as well. Like you said, Toph, I mean, some of the hardest patterns, and there's just that risk factor going into hallucinate. And unfortunately, Taiwan was punished for it. Mexico stealing back a break point, and things are even now. Things are in equilibrium, 2-2. Mexico up to pick.
Yeah, 2 break points back to back. Mexico has the opportunity to go with what they need to. I mean, is LN3 the right pick? They lost LN2 by like 12,000 points, and they just won a Rice pick. Maybe Rice 4 is what you go with here.
Rice 4 might be a good option. Yeah, I mean, if we really think about it, Rice 2 separated by 4,000 points. Mexico beating Taiwan on Rice 5. LN2 didn't really go their way. I think they kind of have to send it on a Rice pick. It might be just the play because as it stands now, overall, Mexico has done really well on Rice. So at this point, they're a Rice team now, right, Toph?
I mean, that's what it looks like to me. I mean, both of these teams are just so strong right now. We're seeing they're very well rounded. I'm interested to see if hybrids come out. Wait. Oh, LN3 actually does come up for Mexico, not wanting to dip into a potentially risky pool, still wanting to stick with that long nut. I'm not necessarily surprised. It is just an interesting choice to go with after losing LN2 like that.
Definitely an interesting choice. Again, you and I both wanted to see a Rice pick to surprise us. However, that's not going to be the case. They're going to flush out the rest of the LNs and clean it up with LN3. As LN1 was banned, LN2 Mexico had lost on. Serrano's still staying in Shadow GM and Dark Chaser as well. Whereas on Taiwan, we got the same, I believe, LN squad from last time. Ha0201, Shice, and Belos. So just really a rematch of LN2. And last time, things didn't really go their way. Hopefully for this one, with that added, I guess, spice in the map and the difference in categorization, Mexico can really make something happen here.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we mentioned it in the last match, but this map has so many choke points. The reverse shields and the mini jack heavy, the tech heavy long notes. Also, Osu original. Gotta keep mentioning that every time this is picked, but exciting stuff to see. Love seeing this map get picked, but it's going to be interesting to see. Those difficult technical patterns are just rough to be consistent on. I think if I was in Mexico's shoes, I probably would have picked this before Rice or before Long Note 2. I think Long Note 2 was a little too safe. It meant that Taiwan was able to, be comfortable on a Long Note pick that might not have been otherwise, in their favor, but kept them out of the nerves and gave them the point. But Mexico now in a potential point of momentum can pick this again. Cerrone does find a miss right at 400 combo, and that's going to be big. But Shisei trades that and is going to be just about even for both teams. But that was a much cleaner miss from Shice.
Yeah, definitely favors Taiwan, unfortunately, for the Mexican team, but maybe they can make things happen. This is, I think, one of the longest maps in the regular pool, standing at 2 minutes and 48 seconds, so still a lot of time for Mexico to do something. Like you were saying, I think LN2 was maybe too straightforward of a pick for Mexico, and seeing how they've been doing on some of these non-straightforward picks, right now LN3 seems like their best bet. So as the lead gets slightly cut down, and that's really off of the back of Shadow GM and Dark Chaser having some really good accuracies, Mexico kind of reeling this one back in just by a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. This lead staying just around that 3,500, 4,000 point range. 2 full combos to 2 full combos. No one's really batting an eye at the moment. Accuracy lead slightly in favor of Taiwan, but that's mostly off the back of Cerrone being a little bit behind Ha here. 99.6, 99.4, but that's a double miss there. Veloce actually trades one of those, but Shadow GM and Cerrone both missing on the side of Mexico, and that's extending the lead for Taiwan as we only have 1 full combo on each side. Dark Chaser and Ha holding down the fort. Dark Chaser a little bit of an advantage, but both of those misses happening at the same time for Mexico. 12,000 points is huge right now as we get into the last quarter.
Yeah, that small exchange definitely favored Taiwan by a decent chunk, and that's why you see a 13,000 point lead for them. This map is honestly pretty physical, dare I say, just with, like you said, all of the shields, all of the little jack patterns involved in it. So, I mean, as the map goes on, you'll see a lot more mistakes in Shadow GM dropping yet again. It's really unfortunate, but skyrocketing is the lead for Taiwan. Dark Tides are holding on with their FC, same with HAO 201. The map is closing out, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of time. Taiwan really does need to make a mistake. However, such a calm outro, and it's not gonna happen. Taiwan sealing the deal, taking yet another breakpoint off of Mexico, and getting the lead 3-2 with their pickup next.
Yeah, that's 3 breakpoints in a row now. Mexico choosing 2 long note picks and losing both in a row. Taiwan picking a technical map and losing that. At this point, you're almost in a position where Taiwan's like, hey, long notes are good for us. Let's go with something that's more long note heavy. I could definitely see Taiwan picking Hybrid 2 in this scenario. 100%.
Hybrid 2 does kind of seem like a very good pick because um, it is kind of similar in structure, I guess, to LN3 in a way. Uh, a lot of jacks are like coordination based kind of tactics in that map. And honestly, Rice has been too much of a close call to really get a good grip on it. And in fact, they're actually going to go for Tricolor Prism instead.
Yeah, going with a slightly more comfortable hybrid here. Still quite difficult, but definitely looking to get away from the rice picks, getting away from the real comfort picks of the entire lobby, and trying to make sure that those long note advantages that they've been seeing on like long note 2 and long note 3 are able to be kept forward, at least as far as this goes. But this is definitely going to be one of the points where I think Mexico has a chance to kind of keep up. I mean, 12,000 points is not that much, so they weren't even that far behind on Island 3, but I do still think that this is a little bit more straightforward as far as the hybrids go, so I could see Mexico definitely doing well on this.
Yeah, 100%. It does seem more straightforward. And honestly, Toph, I think that with Taiwan picking Hybrid 1, it seems like kind of like they're throwing out the script that they had, and they're kind of conceding, hey, we haven't been doing too well on Rice. If you want to go for it on the next pick, go ahead. So, I mean, Taiwan trying to find other avenues of getting points versus Mexico, especially, and just trying to stay away from Rice, it seems now. Mexico kind of has that chance to jump at it after this pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and Mexico definitely will get a pick after this. Taiwan cannot win off of this. Not match point quite yet. So getting a little bit of an ability to scout out how the hybrids will go for Mexico. If this doesn't go in Taiwan's favor, I could definitely see Mexico sticking with hybrid, but ultimately I think Mexico should probably move into the rice one way or another, especially if they lose this. Mexico only has the hybrids and the rice to work with, and they won one of the rice picks, and they can move with that, but it really just depends on how this map goes.
Yeah, starting off for Taiwan, we have Veloz, Ha, and Chise. For Mexico, Shadow GM, Dark Treasure, Cerrone. So no huge changes really whatsoever here. Basically the same squads as the last map, and we're just gonna have to see how things roll. Things starting off pretty tame for now. Maybe a couple of bad judgments on Cerrone's side, but nothing that can't be fixed with a couple more 100 notes.
Yeah, and you say a couple hundred notes, but at this point we're hitting that 400 combo, and Mexico actually holding on to a very slight lead, though. Basically nothing. It looks like it's swapping back and forth as the accuracy advantage does go slightly in favor of Taiwan, with Shadow GM dropping to about 99.5, but still only about 1,000 points at this point, as Chise and Veloz both able to hold on to 99.8 accuracy here.
Yeah, that's really the main factor as to why Taiwan has such a decent lead going into a third of the map. We go past a little jack section, a couple bursts in between, and then some LN sections that are isolated in between those, and everyone hits those very, very cleanly. Unfortunately for Mexico, the accuracies just are not really there. 99.6s from 2 of them is very much lower than the overall accuracy for Taiwan, and Dark Shadows with the highest accuracy for Mexico is unfortunately basically stuck in the middle between all of the Taiwanese players.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, a miss does come out from Cerrone right as that break finishes up. This can extend the lead for Taiwan as the accuracy advantage just pushes that in their favor. We get into the last quarter. 3 full combos for the side of Taiwan, 2 on the side of Mexico. Good accuracies all around. But we're going to need to see 2-3 misses coming from Taiwan in this ending in order to see any kind of changes in the lead. But 14,000 points is a lot to overcome despite the good accuracy from Mexico. And it looks like Taiwan is going to be able to hold on to this point and bring it to a match point here.
Yep, Taiwan up 4-2 now. Thankfully, like we said before, Mexico does have this next pick. The question is whether they want to branch into Hybrid 2 or if they just want to go for one of the Rice picks. And probably the worst pick they could make would be Rice 1, in my opinion, just because it's so straightforward and they're so strong at... Taiwan is so strong at very straightforward maps.
It definitely is between Rice 3 and Rice 4 for me. Like, if I'm in Mexico's shoes, it's Rice 3 or Rice 4. And I mentioned it last time I had to pick around. I probably would go with Rice 4. The difficulty on the accuracy on that side could definitely be difficult for Taiwan to deal with. Plus, the choke potential of that is just like so much higher than Rice 3.
Yeah, I like the game plan that you have in mind for them, because the whole reason why Hallucinate worked out for Mexico was because of the choke potential in that back half of the map when things hit very high density, got very fast.
That's what
someone broke, and
see.
Perfect pick for Mexico, in our opinion, of course. So hopefully it works out for them and they can really ring this back into a tiebreaker situation.
I also always love to just see some variety in the picks. We see the red and blue spread all over the map pool. Blue team Mexico getting to pick some Rice despite not necessarily planning to in the first place. Certainly their opening game plan, especially with Taiwan's super high Rice 1 score in qualifiers, not necessarily expecting to go into this, but they have such good accuracy players on the side of Mexico that, you know, as long as they're able to stay consistent, this is a for sure zone where they can strike in.
Exactly, and really just speaks to Taiwan and Mexico being very open-minded going into the match, being very adaptable into what's going on map to map. And they've done really well, both of them, to kind of hone in on where they think they'll get the best chance of having a point. And it really all just culminates in this, Taiwan being at match point and Mexico trying to stay alive here in the winner's bracket. It all comes down to Little Princess. We're going to have to see if Mexico can still have a shot at bringing it to tiebreaker.
Yeah, super close match so far. I think the largest difference so far has been about, 14, 15K. So not too much of a difference, obviously outside of the SV, but even the SV was only about 30,000 points of difference. So these two teams are very well matched against each other. It's just about who's able to perform well enough. And this is the kind of map similar to Rice 5 where those chokes can happen, and Mexico has just shown a better consistency on Rice.
It does seem like this map does have a decently high amount of variance. If you're just not having the best day on this map, it can really culminate in you having a much lower score than maybe your PB. So one thing Mexico really needs to do is just FC throughout the whole map, because that's what got them to win on Hallucinate.
Yeah, if I see a 3-way FC from Mexico, I think this might be a win, but we've got to watch it. A very good Rice team on the side of Taiwan. Jack, Yukum, Vilose. The expected Rice team, Darkichizer, Cerrone, and Iolante, also the expected Rice team from Mexico. So exactly the same team we saw on Rice 5, and the only reason Mexico won, Taiwan had the better accuracy, but there was one choke on the side of Taiwan, and that's kind of what Mexico is fishing for at this point.
Oh yeah, for sure. And as we kind of get into some of these more technical patterns, a lot of graces coming out. It doesn't seem like there are too many large drops in accuracy, unless maybe Cerrone has a 200 or two. But as it stands, Taiwan basically all at the same accuracy. Darkichizer with them as well. Watch it a little bit higher and Cerrone a little bit lower, and that's going to lead to Taiwan just kind of having a very, very small lead. nothing a couple of bad judgments or a miss can't fix.
Absolutely, and Cerrone continuing to increase that accuracy. I think stabilizing around the low 99.7s. Awate dropping a little bit. Darktizer holding on to about the same as the rest of Taiwan, so a slight lead for Taiwan here. We're already 2/3 of the way through, but still only 3,000 points. Still waiting for any misses. A 6-way full combo at this point, all having extremely strong accuracy. It's just one player from Mexico a little far behind, but it's certainly not within striking range.
Yeah, here we go with this little guitar solo, and everyone just hitting the trills perfectly. Unfortunately, probably favors Taiwan by just a little bit. And I think Darkichizer took a decent hit in accuracy as well, so no longer kind of in that group of Iwate and all three Taiwanese players. Map's gonna try to close out, but honestly, Mexico's still in it, just needs a couple misses from Taiwan, maybe even one. However, that's not going to happen. Very light outro, and yet again, Taiwan staving off.
Oh,
wait a second! Oh my lord!
Don't do that to me!
No way!
No.
Jackie, you can't do that.
You can't do that to us. What a
my
match!
Heart sank.
Oh my goodness! Jeez, what are we supposed to do about that?
Oh man, gotta catch my breath there, but Taiwan surviving in the end. Staving off Mexico, beating them, finally again in their rice pool, and securing their spot in the top 16 winners side, 5-2.
Yeah, what a close match. 5-2. It doesn't look that close, but I mean, you mentioned it earlier. If you get a lead early in a best of 9, it's hard to get that back. And Taiwan really took that lead early. Even though they gave up another break point, they were able to really bring it back and get their lead right back, but they're going to move on to the winner's bracket. Mexico putting up an unbelievable fight. These teams are so good, but no upset coming out today. Taiwan in the winner's bracket, Mexico in the loser's bracket. But that's going to be it, I think, for this stream for now. We've just got to wait for the rest of the round of 32. Do you have anything left to let the viewers know about?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a couple matches still left. Anything can happen in those. That's going to be in a really big block. We've got one match at 13 UTC, 2 matches at 14 UTC, and 1 match at 15 UTC as well to showcase. Possibly at 16 UTC, we'll let you know if anything changes for that, but I believe that is almost set in stone. Again, anything crazy could happen in those matches, but you know what else is crazy, Toph Daddy? The fact that you can support your favorite teams through the OSU website. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Hey, I would love to tell you more about that. We've got some banners available at the store. They go on your profile. You can support your favorite team. You can support your favorite teams with the parentheses there. You can buy as many banners as you want to support whoever you want. Personally, I have always been a fan of obviously the United States, but also Brazil has been one of my favorites, and I'm obviously going to be buying both of those banners because they're both going to show up on my profile. But you can buy as many as you want. Any of the 32 teams that are in this round of 32 bracket are available to purchase in the OSU store. And as a bonus, if you correctly predict who's going to win, your banner is going to stay up for the entire year. How does that sound, Dynasty?
That sounds amazing. I might just go ahead and buy 5 banners for Thailand right now. But we hope you guys enjoyed this match. Many more yet to come, including the showcase later on today. Hope you guys had a good time, and we will catch you in the next one.
大きくなりすぎたかな。暗闇はいつも怖かったあの頃と